if you understand that our Christian heritage is no coincidence, that we are children of the living God, then you've won half the battle, and all our great leaders, historically, they would say a prayer, something dramatic before a battle towards God, or even in pagan times, right? It was the gods, whatever. Now, we're like, people say a prayer to science or some crap. They just totally ignore God. But, think about it. Consider it. Could it be real? If God's real, would he punish his people if they're in rebellion? Think about it. And when I say go back to Christianity, I don't necessarily mean go back to a state church, because, I don't need to say, you'll tell me, they're all liberal, they all promote Marxism, multiculturalism and all that. Now, I actually think there's some well-meaning people in church, even to this day. But I have to agree, they're controlled. If they preached fire and brimstone Christianity, they'd have someone, whatever, from the government, from council, down there in, very fast. And, no, get back on the old multicultural crap. The church reflects its, the wider society. It's nothing more than a puppet. The official, in the Bible, God preaches the church as his people, his children, right? Not a building where they preach flipping Marxism. Okay, so don't feel like you have to go to quote-unquote church, but just have it in your heart and read the Bible and things, and just consider these things. Because as I said, this, you're banging against a brick wall here if you haven't got God on your side. The Muslims know that. Even though obviously I don't agree with their God, they're really into that fanatically. But we're like fanatically atheist, and we think we can win this fight. It's just not true. And Christianity, you might say, it's a weak religion, it's for sissies. But that's just how it's been portrayed in this century, since our enemies have pretty much taken over everything. They've made it just the love part. Now, God is love, but he can deal firmly with his enemies. And all these, Marxists and communist bastards that have been, like Merkel, right? In the old days, they'd be hanging from a tree quicker than you can say, right? They'd be finished. And that's in an old-time Christian society. So, are we really that soft? Were Christians really that soft? And I know they did, they burnt heretics at the stake as well and things like that. But how much of that was manipulation, I think the Jesuits were actually responsible for a lot of that, if you look it up. And they were trying to cause trouble, they were undermining the true church. So anyway, it's just a few points on the spiritual side of this fight, and also I like to say, don't go out and do things, silly things or anything like that. Violence is not the answer. It is my belief that things can happen peacefully in our favour, but however we win, it'll be through God. You won't even have to worry about how we're going to do it. If God's on our side, we've won already, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? You're kicking against the pricks, right? If you have no God, you've got to have the spiritual strength as well. So that's what I'm here for. I'm going to tell you a bit more about God and why, a nationalist or someone who just wants to save the heritage, not aggressive, just from a defensive perspective, wants to save what we once had, being white. It's not, illegal to be white. It's okay to be white, right? And proud of yourself. So, you know, someone like that, they're better off with a spiritual side. And even if they're not particularly spiritual, if they're kind of, you know, meeting God halfway, it's better than nothing, right? So, you know, this is my point. There's great strength to tap into there, and it's not worth going the other way and going into the occult, because our enemies are the ones who control all that. You know, even if you, you know, like, they're a bunch of lunatics, but I heard Combat 18, for instance, right? They, one of their leaders was like, there were rumours he was doing sacrifice or something, because he was, you know, he was this big time pagan or whatever. The thing is, the leaders above do that, but they do it on a greater level, and they're, you know, they're in flipping devil's pocket, right? So if you're doing whatever you are doing it out in the woods somewhere, but, you know, dabbling like a bunch of fills, you're not going to get the same respect or order that them bastards are. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, cheers, and God bless.